Say that again, Christopher.
My name is Grumpy Master Dungeon Christopher, and this is Master Grumpy Dungeon Jay, and we're guested here today with Bandit Beer Bruce the Grumpiness
And master.
and
Apparently,
yes.
apparently, you've been taking those things your wife was telling you about incorrectly. They've given you, they've obviously given you brain damage.
I have lots of brain damage.
That's a
I've,
fair point. Enough
I had an
concussions will do that.
I had an argument with my daughter on what a concussion was this weekend. She said,
Your daughter's 7.
I know.
Okay.
So, I don't know how it happened, but the term concussion came up in the house, and my daughter went, "Oh, I know what a concussion is. My teacher told me that's when your brain it gets injured and it bleeds." I'm like,
Okay.
"No, that's brain hemorrhage when it
Yeah.
starts bleeding." She's like, "Well, that's what my teacher said it was concussion." I was like, and my wife's like, "Well, concussion could cause brain bleeding." I was
They
like,
can go hand in hand, but it's not a requirement.
"Right." And so concussions when the brain, your head gets so hard that your brain bounces around inside your skull, and the brain gets damaged that way. That's
Yeah.
what a concussion is. And she's like, "No." It's like, about to have a concussion or give you a concussion.
Well, teacher is wrong
Well,
again.
I don't think the teacher's wrong. I think it's just more like 7-year-olds retaining knowledge and doing stuff. Like it's so funny. Like I took her out to play D&D a couple weeks ago. I don't remember if I talked about this or not, but I
You did.
ran like the intro to uh, Dragon Heist, and it was nice. And my daughter picked up um the oh crap, whatever the heck the mini was.
The
The
mimic.
Umber Hulk.
Yeah.
No, it was an Umber Hulk. And she was playing with it at home and having fun time with it when I found it. But when I put it out on the board to kind of like behind the DM screen, which I don't use, so everyone can see the Umber Hulk just sitting there the entire time, she pointed at it and goes, "Ha ha, that's the monster we're gonna fight." The second I put it on the board, she began screaming in terror at it. Like, sweetie, just calm down. It's not that big of a deal. You're fine.
Yeah.
You were laughing about it 2 seconds ago. Why are you
You've
scared now? Just
you've been
7-year-old
playing
logic,
you've been
man.
playing with it for 2 weeks now.
7-year-old logic, man. I just sometimes I just gotta nod my head and go. So yeah, we have an exciting podcast today. We're gonna talk about giants
Super
and
exciting.
beer bandits, and we're gonna talk about tieflings and how they sleep, and genasi and how they sleep. So who wants to go first?
Ooh, sleeping tieflings or tieflings?
Yeah.
I mean, not all of them have tails, so I just assume they can sleep in which way they want. And not all of them have horns, so that's not a distraction either.
No. If you play anything Forgotten Realms, every one of them have horns that are long as hell. So my assumption would be that they just sleep on their heads in some weird yoga pose, like just
So
stick the horns on the ground to keep themselves upright.
that was the question posed on Reddit this weekend
Oh
is
my
how do
god.
tieflings sleep? And they gave a picture of a couple of the tieflings from Baldur's Gate 3 because they're all over the place. They're main story element.
Yep.
And they all have these massive horns that are just kind of like sticking out everywhere. And it's kind of funny because us as Americans, we have this general idea that everyone sleeps with a pillow. Okay. And generally, I think that everyone kind of probably does, but not everyone sleeps with a pillow. Not every culture has pillows. Like you have those more like rustic tribes that have those little wooden blocks that they carry around with them everywhere that they sleep on because it props up their neck. But they also use it as a stool and stuff like that.
Well, maybe they
Cowboys
just
use their
sleep at the end
saddles.
of the bed. They
Yeah,
sleep at the foot of the bed.
like pillows aren't a normal thing, but like when you look at the bed rolls that they have in Baldur's Gate 3, they all don't come with a pillow. The pillow is a separate thing, you know. The pillow is for the luxury crowd out there. So it was a topic of conversation, and me and my wife were talking about it. We're like, okay, well, they probably have to sleep on their back with their head propped up, or they have to sleep on their tummy with like no pillow at all, like they're like a bear rug almost. Um, So,
Well, then there's the ones that have the tails, and
yeah,
I'm guessing they have to sleep on their sides or
maybe
on
they
their
Oh,
curl up
or
they're
on
like
their
oh they're
stomach.
feathered.
maybe they curl up like a cat and sleep that way. Who knows?
Maybe.
I mean, that would make
I mean,
sense for me, and that'd take care of the
how do
tail problem and the
how do
horn problem.
how do bulls and steers
They
sleep?
sleep standing up. Maybe because tieflings some have hooves, they all sleep standing up. Maybe demons sleep standing up against the
Demon.
walls, chittering with their.
Maybe they don't sleep at all.
Well,
Well, I
tieflings
mean,
do.
Tieflings do, sure.
maybe the ones of elvish heritage don't have to. They do a 4-hour trance.
Well, the four arrow trance in Baldur's Gate 3 is shown as being the elf is lying on the ground with his head on a pillow or a rolled up towel or whatever, and he's got his hands in the meditation position, and his eyes are closed. So all
They
you
just did,
freaking players out there's like, I'm just meditating, my eyes are open. No, you can't do that. Stop it.
well, it sounds like they didn't want to spend the money to do an animation of a person doing a seated trance.
Listen, don't take your logic up with me, all right? They're not doing it.
Yeah, I just have a lot of issues when it comes to tieflings in general because of the lack of consistency over the years. Uh,
They've become more ever since fourth edition when it became player races. Um,
they were playable races in third edition.
well,
Yep,
but
they
they were
were.
still but they were still evil player races. They were part of the
No,
evil.
No, they weren't.
no, they weren't.
No, they
They weren't
weren't.
the basic handbook.
There was no requirement on their alignment. You could play them as whatever alignment you wanted. The inconsistencies. So I've looked this up before. I know I've talked about it on here, but it's been a while. Third edition, to be a tiefling, you had to have some trait from a demonic lineage or
And
devil
it's
lineage.
true because I played one with you, Jay, and and I chose that I smelt like brimstone. So if you were within 5 feet of me, I smelt like rotten eggs.
Yeah. Or you could have hooves, or you might
Or
have
who?
horns, or
Or
you might have a tail. But these are mites. You had to have something. You might have just red eyes all the time.
yeah, that too. And then the
Eh,
colors though is a newer thing. Like they
Yeah.
they the skin color was very new, red and orange and purples and all that stuff. That's very new.
Hmm.
Um, shit.
Well, I
I
think
was going somewhere with this.
that's all determined by what layer of hell they take after, I believe.
Oh well, that's fine. I understand changing lore occasionally down the lines. That's a newer thing. Um, but like I said, they each had some trait from that, and it was always known as the tieflings somewhere in your heritage, way down the line. Your great grandfather, your great great grandmother, somebody slept with one of these entities, and you
Yeah,
ended up getting the traits from it way down the line. Their original offspring would have been a Cambion. A Cambion is 50% mortal, 50% devil or demon.
yeah,
Now if I look at the Tieflings and the Cambions, shy of the wings, cannot tell them apart.
No, you really can't.
Cannot tell them apart. They are the same fucking thing, which leads me to believe that the Tieflings are literally just 1/4 or more demonic heritage.
Hmm.
There's just been a very sort of lack of consistency. They've taken it and made it way way more than it was. I don't want to give too many spoilers away, but they actually name an NPC's demonic lineage in uh, the Baldur's Gate 3, which I'm not going to say any more than that.
Well,
Like they're
I mean, they have the red ones, and red ones are normally Asmodeus. They have the blue ones, and blue ones
well,
are
all,
Levistus.
that is also not true. There's no consistency there because the name they
Right,
drop is none of them you just mentioned for a red
right.
tiefling. So
Um, and so red kind of also became Zariel's like thing, but I don't know. So like it, it honestly after the movie came out and they had
did they
what's
have
her
a tiefling
face?
in the movie?
Yeah, the druid.
Oh, I didn't realize she was a tiefling. I thought she was some weird elf thing.
No, she was a tiefling with pale
yeah.
white skin. That's the part that bothers me the most. about the
And,
movie.
and,
Well,
her, and, her, and her horns were like wicker.
yeah.
I thought she was a satyr the entire time, but no, she's a tiefling, and I'm like,
Well,
no,
yeah.
come on.
See, and that kind of I kind of get it now. Like third edition, you could be that, and I've said a lot of the stuff they pulled for
Yeah.
the movie was third edition. The shape
Yeah,
shifting to the owlbear, that's third edition. A lot of stuff was straight out of that.
yeah.
So, but she could have been a tiefling from third edition. She had the horns. That's all she needed. That was the only requirement.
I know in fourth editions when they became part of the basic player handbook, and that's when they were like per the lore.
Once again, they're in the basic handbook in third. They're in the
Okay,
PHB,
which one?
the player's handbook.
I don't believe you. I'll
Uh,
look it up while you continue talking. So, anyways, we talked about tiefling sleeping. Okay. Um, and then I started making the joke. So, how does a water genasi sleep? So, does he like
In
underwater.
a cup.
transform when he sleeps? Does he go into a jar and like melt down and like fill in the jar? You know, or how does a fire genasi sleep? Does he like kind of like sleep in a campfire or a fireplace or a forge and like, oh man, I'm cold? Doesn't put a blanket on him, just takes like a log and stuffs it into his chest. Hey, I'm cold, sweetie. Put another log in me, all right? Thanks. Like, how did genasi sleep? Since they're made of the element, I know like they're kind of like physical
They're
people
not
now.
they're not made of the element though. They
They
just have
have some of
it
their element on them.
in the same manner as tieflings, the Ganassi, somewhere in their lineage, there was a djinn that slept with somebody.
Third edition player handbook races: human, dwarf, elf, gnome, half orc, half elf, halfling. In
See
your
now,
face.
uh-huh. Maybe it was
I, I think it was in the monsters manual, but it said it had a subcategory for like if you wanted to play as a PC race.
Yeah. Like
So
I
it's one
said,
of the first three
I'm
though.
not.
It's not an extra book. It's one of the core
no.
three.
But when they became part of the player's handbook in fourth, that's when they shifted. I remember reading an article about this, where that's where they shifted the mentality of the tieflings from being this like feared, evil, like scary race to it's just they're commonplace and everywhere, and everyone knows them and loves them, and
In Forgotten Realms only.
yeah, in Forgotten Realms only.
Yeah, they do not even exist in Dragonlance. As far as I know, they're not in Eberron either.
I mean, in 5.5e, the D and Done edition, Goliaths are being moved out of the monster and evil monster category. They're part of the base PHB, which I don't mind, but I kind of don't like either. Like as someone who plays Goliaths a lot, I always like that they're included, but I never liked them as part of the base
You want to be
handbook.
special. you,
I want to be a special snowflake. Yeah. So, so how does an Earth Genasi sleep? Does he like have to like curl up in dirt to feel at
I
home
would
and warm?
imagine he sleeps exactly like a human does. He doesn't have a tail to make him any more
How
uncomfortable.
does an air genasi sleep? Do they just like float on the ground? They don't really need
Nope.
a bed.
Same way. They don't get to float. They don't get that power.
Someone turns on the ceiling fan and they get blown away.
Hang on. I actually
They have,
don't.
wait, they have ceiling fans?
Oh
I,
yeah, they
oh,
had those like where they pull the rope and like the weights go back up and down and like the
Oh, okay.
circle fans. Yeah, this is the Renaissance era of technology, so
let's
any
see.
kind of gear punk works. If they can have clockwork gnomes in Forgotten Realms, they can have motorized ceiling fans of some kind.
Yeah. Oh man, are we gonna get me started on fucking steampunk in D&D
No.
again? Let's
No, we're
not
gonna
go
move on
back.
to
Let's not go down this route again, please.
we're gonna move back to cassette punk.
Oh, okay. Explain this to me.
Huh?
You mentioned it yesterday. It blew my mind. Even the idea of cassette punk. I don't understand it. I don't know what the hell it is.
So cyberpunk and like steampunk, diesel punk, oil punk, they're all kind of like set genres of things. And so 80s nostalgia kind of doesn't have its own strict setting yet. but some people have gone to calling it cassette punk, where it's that time of period where like 8-track and cassette players were the norm, and
Nobody had because okay. Well, since you're not old enough to remember this, 8-tracks. They were around when cassettes came out, but 8-tracks had a very short lifespan.
I know.
Okay,
I'm just
so
telling you the setting. Okay. So 8-tracks, cassette tapes, anything that works off of uh, capacitor tubes instead of microchip processing. Anything that runs off of magnetic tape, like those giant reels for the
that could
giant
be the
computers.
1950s, though.
It could be the 1950s, but it has the 80s aesthetic to it, where it has like the Lisa Frank kind of drawings everywhere, and those really weird vans, DeLoreans, that kind
Tubular
of stuff.
man.
Yeah,
Rad.
it's that kind of it's that kind of setting. And
So elves with skateboards. Got it.
elves with skateboards, but not floating skateboards.
Yeah, actual skateboards.
Like you have to put in a cassette into the player, and then it does the robotic thing, and you take the cassette out, and you put it in like the war mode, and then all of a sudden they're in war mode because they're running off that program.
I really want to strangle whoever even thought of this.
Cassette punk, man, it's not that big of a stretch.
Yeah,
If we can have steampunk, this cassette punk can exist. It'll be fine.
I don't. At least I think it's the era thing. Like if it was if they were placing it in the 50s, it wouldn't bother me as much. But the
Right,
fact that
because
it's 80s,
because it's in 80s at a time you grew up, and you
right?
have yet to accept that that's ancient times. What was the Game Boy from 20 years ago?
A Nintendo Game Boy, I would guess.
Which one?
I don't know the first one.
The
No,
DS.
that was 40 years ago.
I mean,
The
well,
DS.
oh, you're talking about a DS. That's not the Game Boy. That's the DS.
No, it's the fucking Nintendo. It's a Game Boy, man.
It's a
It's a
Nintendo
Game Boy.
DS. I have one in the other room.
Right, that's the Game Boy 20 years ago. The
Yeah,
Game Boy
but that
you're
wasn't a
thinking
Game
of.
Boy. That's a handheld. It's the
God,
DS.
anyways, yeah, you're at the age now where you're the era you grew up in can now be considered a punk
Yeah,
stylization.
that's not no.
It is. It is. Just wait till 90s punk comes
I mean,
around.
we could just start wanting to call it modern punk, and it
90s,
literally just it just takes
90s
place right
punk will
now.
never go around because in the 90s the cool thing was to stay at home and not do anything.
I know, it was great.
But bitch, because that
Yeah.
was our aim.
Well, no, in the 90s we had we played video games on on PCs, and we had we had DVDs. We could go out
Yeah.
and rent 3 movies from a Blockbuster and go get pizza and make a great evening with it.
But we'd
So
go home and then bitch that we couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But we
So
could have.
you know what I'm gonna call the 90s punk era? I'm gonna officially name it right here and now. I'm gonna call it
Ooh.
Blockbuster Punk.
Blockbuster Punk. Fucking done. If we are gonna go down this route, let's go down this route fucking hard. Blockbuster Punk.
Yep.
I'm gonna run a Blockbuster Punk game. I'm gonna figure this out and make it happen.
So
You
yeah,
get to score tickets to your favorite concert.
That's right. Go see the Dave Matthews Band.
the internet exists, but it only works at like 2 kilobytes up and
Yeah.
10 kilobytes down.
36.6 is just a dream in the future. Not there yet. It's still a 27.7 modems.
No, man, it's 14.4.
Oh, we're going real old. All right.
There's no USB connectors, just those giant, huge 8080s.
Are we on the 5 1/4 floppy disk, or is it the 3 or 5.5 or the 3 1/4?
No, the Blockbuster would definitely be CDs. Yeah.
CD-ROM.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, we had CD-ROMs, I guess, by the mid-ish 90s.
Yeah.
Play some X-Wing.
Yeah. And then TIE Fighter, which was ironically better and more fun, but
yeah, I just go ahead.
That was pretty much everything that I've done and talked about. Other than the fact that I beat Baldur's Gate 3 by uh,
Yeah,
the cheap and easy way,
by getting to the end of Act 2.
but getting to the end of Act 2. I mean, the game is just. I feel like it's going to change a lot in how I'm approaching games. I've been watching that, and there's a podcast out there that also runs a bunch of YouTube shorts. Um, and I think I've mentioned them before, but me and my wife sat down. We watched a whole bunch of these today. Um, yeah, they're called doo-doo-doo-doo, the Stinky Dragon Podcast. And what they've been doing is been taking their comedy sketches that they've been doing while they play their D&D game and putting them up as YouTube shorts with puppets. It's quite hilarious. And a lot of what they do is kind of like, you know what the rules are. You're still there to play a game of D&D, but the rules matter, but at the same time they kind of don't, you know. Like they're not rolling for massive combat advantage or trying to, eke out the best fighting character possible or the best character possible when it comes to roles. They really don't fail per se. They fail with style. Like there's one
Mhm.
point in time where one orc kind of jumps over this cavern and rolls a 20. The DM's like, "Oh yeah, you just leap over it magnificently with the greatest of ease, and there's no problems at all whatsoever." And he's like, "Okay, I'm looking for some place to tie off the rope." He's like, "Okay, give me a perception check," and he rolls a 1. And the DM's like, "All right, so you try to look for a place to tie off the rope, and it's completely pitch black dark over there. You don't see a single thing." He's like, "Is this magical darkness?" And the DM's like, "No, it's not." And the player on the other side of the ravine's like, can we look over there? Can we see him?" He's like, "Yeah, you see him. His hat's over his eyes."
Oh god.
So it has just like this era of comedy where they're not really failing, but they're just doing things spectacularly and just failing upwards in a sort of sense. And
Okay.
it's quite hilarious. And they had, like I said, they have the shorts on YouTube, the Stinky Dragon on YouTube, and then they have their actual podcast, which I may actually listen to see how it is. And they have a podcast on YouTube as well too. But it's quite hilarious to listen to them. So give them a look.
Is it so do they actually roll dice or are they just
Yeah, and
storytelling?
they roll dice, but it's like there's one point in time where the guy's trying to sneak and he fails, and he tries to run away and disappear from them, and he gets a good runaway roll, and then he's sneaking back and he falls on there's like conveyor belt that's moving them along, and he's about to move into the axes, so he has the option to either roll off the conveyor belt or shoot the hamster that's running in a wheel that's powering the electrical axis. So so he rolls to shoot the hamster, gets a crit, and the DM's like, "Oh, okay, your arrow flies through the air, hits the hamster, and impales him to the wall." He's like, "I'm rolling damage." He's like, "Well, the hamster's dead." He's like, "I don't care. I gotta see this damage."
This sounds like my players. I'll occasionally tell them, You don't need to roll." The guy had 1 hit point left. And they still roll the damage. They always want to see their damage.
Yeah, their podcast is on Apple, Google, and Stitcher until Saturday, and then Stitcher's gone forever.
Stitcher's leaving? Oh no.
Yeah, they went bankrupt and closed everything out.
Huh, that sucks.
R.I.P.
Yeah, I mean it's bound to happen. You can.
Goodbye, Stitch.
There's only enough space in the world for all these different apps that do the same thing.
Yeah, but
Oh,
it's quite hilarious, and I definitely suggest listening to it.
good to know.
So, what do you want to talk about, Jay? And your
Well,
stupid
I want
giants?
to. No, really? You're the one who loves giants. You
Yeah, but
love
when it's you,
giants.
it's stupid giants.
Well, actually, I didn't. I actually only picked the giants because that's the new epic level stuff that's been released. I could care
Okay.
less what the type of monster is. And actually, the first one is an elemental. So, ooh. Uh, I don't know. Did you link these to Bruce so he can look at this stuff?
They're in our Discord.
Okay.
Anyone can. to go look at the monsters on the 5e Instruments organization website.
So I can't speak for Pathfinder as I haven't run epic level stuff there yet, but I have run and played epic level stuff for 5e. And in general, like most boss monsters or high level monsters, it's not going to be a good fight usually unless you include a lot of other monsters in that fight, or you include a lot of just terrain issues, movement issues, things to actually cause problems for the players. Because if you fight one singular monster, well, it's just, I mean, the game boils down to action economy. You know, I mean, D&D in general, 3rd edition, 5th edition, I would assume 4th edition, it's all action economy. If you've got 4 players who are getting 2 actions around and you've got one monster that's getting a total of 3 actions around, it's just going to lose because it's not going to have enough actions. So 5e had done the thing where it was giving 3 legendary actions per round to monsters, sort of kind of helped with balance a little bit, but it still was never enough. Apparently with the new book, what is it, the Bigby something of giants or other, they've taken that's the actual name, Bigby something giants or other. They've taken away legendary actions for pretty much all monsters. I don't know that that's going to be the right move. And the 2 I pulled up specifically to look at are Cradle of the Frost Scion and the Scion of Thrym. And I pulled them up because these are probably the biggest, most badass creatures in that book. They're CR 24 monsters. And when you beat the Cradle of the Frost Scion, the Scion of Thrym immediately spawns right after it. So it's effectively you're fighting 2 CR 24 monsters back to back.
Okay.
Each of them have effectively 500 hit points. The Cradle has 20 armor class. The Scion has 19 armor class. And that right there, in my estimation, way too damn low of an armor class. Because having a higher, like 500 hit points, that's going to go real quick when you have 4 or 5 or 6 players. Like if you got 6 players, that's 500 hit points isn't squat. They don't have the resistance to magical weapon damage. Yeah, I love the Scion of Thrym. Magic, let's see, where was it? Damage resistance, fire, lightning, bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. Bitch, if you're 20th level and you don't have a magic weapon, like that's pointless. Bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing from non-magical attacks. You don't have resistance at that point. That's what you have.
Okay.
I'm just kind of going through this thing. I think they expect these to be really challenging for players simply because of the damage output. And if you look at the Cradle of the Frost Scion, its damage output is not nearly enough. It's got the Cradle can make 2 slam attacks or hurl icicle attacks. The slam attacks are 4d10 plus 8 plus 11 cold damage. So what's that? 28. That's like 40 damage. If it hits with both attacks, maybe 80 damage if you're rolling good.
I don't think they calculated the monster's hit points right.
Well, oh, probably not.
Keep talking. I'll get back to that.
Sure, you go do your math on your hit points.
This thing is gargantuan. Can it just step on you and kill you?
You would think. But no, that's not how that works in I mean, honestly, that doesn't work in any role-playing game, really. Just because, you have to have a battle. You got to have a fight. Damage-wise, it also... Yeah, it's just bullshit.
I'm sorry, but at my table, if you get too close to a foot of something that's 70 feet tall, like it says it is, you're taking some damage.
How big is Gargantuan's? Not that big. Gargantuan is...
Oh, I know. There's a line here that says, a 70-foot tall scion rushes at any foe.
Yeah, the
So
gargantuan's as big as you can get in 5e.
yeah, which I don't
And the
like.
the problem is gargantuan is anything bigger, anything that's at least 5x5 or bigger. Because the Tiamat that I have sitting over here, the avatar Tiamat is gargantuan, and that mini's like 6 inches by 6 inches. And then I have the Tiamat behind me, and she's 2 foot by 3 foot, and her base is not 5x5; it's like 20x20.
Right, that's the proper next step up.
Right.
That's what this should be.
I'm very confused by. I mean, I know they got rid of some legendary actions, so they kind of moved them over into legendary resistances and
Yeah,
bonus
they have a
actions.
lot more legendary resistances. The Cradle has 5 and the Scion has 6. So effectively you're looking at 11 resists.
Right.
But I mean, they're already immune to any of the really, really bad status effects. They're immune to exhaustion, frightened, paralyzed, petrified, stuff like that. So there's no one shot condition you can give them.
I mean, I guess everything kind of makes sense. Um, where they got the number for the D20 from the 27 con, I guess that works, but I don't know.
Yeah. Um, Looking at the Scion of Thrym specifically, I think this is where they're expecting this to be very challenging is the glacial upheaval.
Hmm.
It recharges on a 5 to 6, and I'm gonna read all this bullshit because it's a lot, and I don't know how this really works. Uh, the Scion digs its hands into the ground at a point it can see within 30 feet of itself and launches a magically conjured mass of ice into the air. Each creature other than the Scion in a 30-foot radius, 100-foot high cylinder centered on that point makes a DC 25 dexterity save. On a failed save, creature takes 8d6 bludgeoning plus 19 cold damage and is pushed vertically to the top of the cylinder, at which point the creature falls. On a successful save, creature takes half as much damage and is pushed to the nearest unoccupied space outside the cylinder with no additional effects. So I assume that means it's just digging its hands into the ground and lifting that up 100 feet into the air, and then everybody's going to automatically just fall off of it to take fall damage too.
No, because the next paragraph is still part of the same attack.
Well, no, that's at the start of the next turn. It is still
Yeah.
part of the same attack, but I'll go ahead and read that too. At the start of the Scion's next turn, a mass of ice plummets to the ground on a point the Scion can see within 60 feet of the point the Scion dug its hands into. Each creature in a 30-foot radius, 100-foot high cylinder centered on that point must succeed on a DC 25 save or take 48 bludgeoning and 4d8 cold. Like the way this reads to me, it sounds like it just magically, and it says magically conjured massive ice. So maybe it just makes a pillar of ice that if you fail that save, you go to the top of it and then you automatically fall off of it.
The way I was thinking is like it just knocks it over at the start of its next turn. So
Yeah,
you
and
lose a
at the
turn,
yeah.
and then because you're stuck between the ice and whatever the top is, unless you want to jump off the top, and then it knocks the thing over.
Yeah, but the falling thing, so it's 8d8 bludgeoning, 3d12 cold, and then if you fall off, because it does say and you fall off at the top of the cylinder, well, that's 100 feet, so that's another 10d10 damage.
Hey, did you see this about the thriving wildlife?
Oh yeah, yeah. Sorry, 10d6 damage. Yeah, thriving wildlife. That's a regional effect. Beasts reproduce rapidly and thrive within 6 miles of the scion. Works the
So
same
that
way for
makes
the
everything
cradle.
bunnies.
Yeah, yeah. They're like beasts are just having a good time there. There's some other giant types that have stuff like this too. I would assume they all have sort of the thriving wildlife or some such. So maybe if there's a storm giant living off the coast or something, or well, they don't have really jungle giants in 5e, but could have that.
Yeah, I don't
Alligators
know.
getting busy in the swamps.
That's why I kind of want to go through a lot of these monsters in Big B's were. are very creative, and I like them. Like the bag jelly, the giant goose,
Yeah.
the Goliath, the giant
The
can.
giant goose is just so dumb that I have to like it.
You wanna go through it then? Or no?
Uh, what was the giant goose's what was it called?
Giant goose.
Is that okay? That's actually the name. All right, giant goose.
So
It
it's a large
it's a fey creature, even better.
it's a large fey. So it's not a beast. No one you can't shapeshift into it. It's a fey. Uh, so the AC of 13, 60 hit points, fly 30, speed of 30, perception, dark vision, passive perception, all that good stuff. It understands giant and sylvan, but can't speak. It can only honk. It has a multi-attack. The goose makes one beak attack and two wing attacks, and +4 to hit, some damage. You
It's
go
the
broke. Its 5 to 6 is a thunderous honk.
it's
The
the
goose
recharge.
honks.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
fucking thunderous honk. Like that's
the goose honks with an ear-splitting volume. Each other creature within 30 feet of the goose must make a DC 12 con saving throw. On a failed save, the creature takes 3d10 thunder damage and has the deafening condition until the start of the goose's next turn. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage. Only the honk can get heard for 300 feet. So it's just like, they're all cute monsters, The giant lynx, the giant ox. It's for a giant world. However, like it's hard to do that, on the table. I haven't seen any minis coming out for this other than the giant collection of legendary giants that they put out a little while ago. Um, So, I mean, I'm not really 100% sure what they were trying to do with this, especially if none of these have legendary actions. Um, they all seem to be hard fights. Um,
I mean,
the pro, the pro, like the
most of them
problem
do
is,
not seem to be though. Like the scions are going to be hard fights because you're fighting two things back to back, but most of this other stuff that's CR20 is not going to be that bad of fight.
yeah, and see, giants, if they were as effective as they should be, as like Bruce said, okay, they would just stomp on you and murder you, and you'd be done with it. I remember I saw a video this weekend of some movie that had Obi-Wan Kenobi in it, and a couple other famous actors where they're fighting a giant like early in their careers, and the giant just walks up and like smashes the one dude into the ground and picks him up and just picks up the other guy with a 23 strength. They really shouldn't have just a 23 strength. They should have like a 46 strength. Just how easily they can move massive objects and uproot trees and shit. Like giants just don't math out well in 5e.
They never
You know,
have. They really never have in D&D. Uh, I actually ran a frost giant fight in Pathfinder, and one thing that really disappointed me about Pathfinder, I didn't realize, but at least in second edition, frost giants are only large.
What?
Like they're only large sized. I mean, that seems ridiculous to me. I think they were 12 feet tall or something, but they're sort of at that upper crust of the large size category.
yeah. So I mean, they kind of fit like with the Goliaths, where they're on the upper size of medium.
Yeah,
But then, even with that, they still have the whatever they call it, the superior build, where they count as a large creature when moving things. So if these guys had some kind of passive condition where, like, yeah, they're giants, but when it comes to doing strength checks, they get a +10 to everything that they do. You know,
yeah,
or
it would be in
like,
line. It might not
yeah,
be useful, but it would at least be in line with what they should be.
right. Some uh Dragon X's Deadly Denizens. Here's the kit for the giants that they all have.
Hmm.
Like Icy X, 3d8 +6 slashing and 2d6 cold. If a huge, which we're talking about, what, a 30-foot tall monster, hit me with an axe, I'm not taking 3d8 damage. I'm taking obliterated into paste
Yeah.
damage. Like,
Yep.
and I get that this is a magical world with hardier than normal creatures, but Schwarzenegger would be turned into paste. The Terminator would just be a pile of crumpled metal.
Yeah.
Like,
You see a
physics
human being.
have to matter.
You see a human being get hit by a car, and you're talking 2,000 pounds of weight versus a 200-pound individual. Like it's not even on the same scale. Yeah,
Right.
if you want to go realism, you can't truly utilize giants the way that they're used in 5e. You just can't. Um, but at the same time, we are talking fantasy games.
Yeah.
Uh, Giants have always been a thing of myth and legend. Jack the Giant Slayer, David
Yeah.
and Goliath. So
Okay.
the
But
smaller
but
person has to overcome them in these types of games.
okay. But so on average, okay, your average giant in any mythos can uproot a tree and use that tree as a club, right?
Sure, yeah,
Okay. We were playing Valheim, and the trolls could do that. Okay, because those are giants,
and they did.
and they did. So your average tree, okay, like if it's a pine tree, it's like 1,000 pounds. Like you're talking like a 20-foot tree, it's like 1,000 pounds. 20-foot tall oak tree could be 2 to 4,000 pounds. If it's a harder wood like a sequoia, you're talking like 10,000 pounds for a 20-foot tree. So 1,000 pounds minimum, and they're swinging that shit at you, baseball bat style. Like you said, with the car hitting you at 65 miles an hour, you're
Yep.
paced. Like, and we're talking about an icy axe. Okay, maybe it is 1,000 pounds, but it's definitely not 50 or 100. You're paced. You're just dead. And like, I understand, like, this is a game. There has to be mechanics, and I get that. But like, make giants a threat. Like, I don't expect to fight Tiamat and win. I shouldn't expect to fight a frost giant and win.
Yeah,
You know,
if you're using a level based system, there just is not a proper way to do this.
right?
You would effectively have to very like in the way that I limit dragons in my game. You would have to limit giants in all of your games. If you see a frost giant and you're level 10, then that frost giant probably should be a CR 20. It just a basic giant should be more than enough to mop the floor with just about any adventuring group.
Hmm.
But once again, this is D&D. It's never going to go down that route. Pathfinder, same thing. Any of these aren't going to go down that route.
I know, but still.
I get it. I understand. A dragon. You're not going to kill a goddamn dragon, but you have to be able to kill dragons in fantasy games. It's what makes it a fantasy game.
Well, I'm fine, but you have to have the right mechanics behind it. Like Dragonheart. You got to have the knight show up to town and build a ballista, and then shoot the ballista at Sean Connery, and then Sean Connery pretends that he dies, and then the villagers try to eat him and stuff like that. Just that's how it naturally works.
I don't even know what movie you're talking about.
Dragonheart.
Dra-
It's terrible.
Dragonheart, man. Wait,
Yeah.
get out of my
I,
podcast. It's not a terrible movie. It's the best movie of all time.
I saw it once, whatever year that garbage came out.
I think
It's
we
not
saw it
garbage.
in the theater.
We might have, yeah.
So you tell me you haven't seen Dragonheart 2?
They made a
Oh, I've seen
sequel.
it. That's even worse.
Have you seen Dragonheart 3?
Even worse. It
They
just
made a
exponentially got
threequel.
worse.
So Dragonheart 2 is about, because Sean Connery was the last dragon, okay? Turns out that he actually wasn't the last dragon, and there was a secret dragon egg hidden that could be hatched and
By
was
the way,
hatched.
I just want to point out Timok was the last dragon.
No, Sean Connery was the last dragon. So,
No,
anyways,
no,
Sean
Timok
Connery was the
was.
last dragon, and so the sequels, there was another baby dragon, and they hatched it and raised it, and people are trying to take over it because they had power, and there was another evil dragon as well too. No, that was the third one. So in the third one, there's an evil Chinese dragon. Okay.
Oh, a lung dragon. All right.
Yeah, and the way that the dragon beat that dragon was because dragons have a secret, super awesome, special cold lung that only the rarest and most specialist of dragons could use. So instead of breathing fire, she breathed cold breath on the Chinese dragon, and it froze in the air, and it fell down, and it shattered to pieces. And Dragonheart 4, I don't think they made yet, but I have a script. Give me a call.
So I figure you're gonna regale us with the tale of Dragonheart 4 that you've got the script for, but I guess not.
Actually, it came out in 2017. It's called Dragonheart: Battle for Heartfire.
Oh shit! There it is. There we go. There's 4 of them.
No, thank you.
Dragonheart franchise.
Yep.
So Dragonheart: A New Beginning, Dragonheart 3, Sorcerer's Curse, Dragonheart 4, Battle for Heartfire, Dragonheart 5, Vengeance, and then there's 2 video games: Dragonheart Fire and Steel and Dragonheart Medieval Creativity Creator. Ooh.
So, guys, if you ever want to find out what not to do for your D&D game, go watch all of those movies.
I gotta watch Dragonheart Vengeance. It came out during the pandemic.
Oh my god! So I actually have a very important topic that I need to talk about with you guys. No, Waples brought this up last night or the night before when we were video gaming, and I think it needs to be discussed on air because
Okay.
it's very, very important. Do you guys wash your dice?
So I was reading D&D Reddit as one does, I think. I don't remember. I do read lots of stuff. And the guy was talking about how his girlfriend was in shock that her boyfriend did not wash her dice. And we're not talking about like taking the dice out of the thing and like running them underwater. She used a cleaner for resin objects and like a small toothbrush and brushed the shit out of like all the numbers and
They're
everything,
ruined. She destroyed them.
and basically kept them good. Um, so we talked about it a little bit, like if our ketchup gets on our dice, I may wash them.
I'm gonna
And
lick
then I
it
was like,
off.
yeah, I was like, I'll just pop the dice in my mouth and like, this is what you get for being dirty, and then spit it out,
Like
But
my gaming dice, they need the 20 or 30 years of Cheeto dust and soda fingers to actually roll good. This is important.
so, Bruce, you're the neutral party. Do you wash your dice?
What?
Wow. Do you
Hello?
I'm
do
leaving
you
that
wash
in.
your do you wash your dice, Bruce?
I do not.
Why not? They're dirty, bad dice. They need to be washed and cleaned.
No, they're good, but that reminds me of a video of someone who put like an inch of water and he rolls his dice in it to see if it comes up, like if they're balanced right. And if it keeps coming up the same number, and then it's not really balanced. You want it to keep coming up different numbers.
Got to wax the side with the 20 on it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you take your dice, you take a set of cheap plastic resin dice, and you put them on a plate with the high numbers on them, and you microwave them in 10-second intervals. You will eventually warp the die so that you can't see it, but it will throw off the balance so that it mostly always rolls a 20. And that is a big problem. And if you do that, you're ruining the game.
Oh,
You
if you do
stop.
that, I will definitely call you a cheater and probably not play with you anymore.
The cold water test with the dice to find that they come true average, it's really hard for that to be 100% accurate. You need a different kind of liquid other than water.
He put salt in it. I do know he put salt in it.
Salt water would work because it changes the density or whatever of the water or something. I'm
I
no
love how
scientist.
we're sitting here telling like old wives' tales for
No,
dice rolling.
That
Well,
will
you put a little bit of thyme and some vinegar on the die. Make sure it's only on the D20 side. That way it rolls really good most of the time. Like that's what we sound like.
no. If you take your die, okay, and you always leave it high number side up, eventually over time, physics will take play, and that dice will
How long is
settle.
overtime? Is it 40 years? Is it 300 years?
400 years.
No, 4 to 6,000 years.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay,
So I
well,
mean,
I'll leave it here for my great, 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 blah, blah, greats grandchild so that they can then roll nothing but 20s.
yeah, exactly. That you're setting your dice up for future generations.
Yep.
Um, so I mean, like that's a thing. I mean, that's just physics. But like if you're doing the microwave trick, then you're definitely bad.
Yeah, don't
Um,
do that. That's cheating, and honestly, it's probably not good for whatever food you cook in that microwave afterwards.
I did hear that a lot of DMs notice that their players that roll a lot of 20s stop rolling a lot of 20s when they move to online sessions.
Oh, funny that.
Um, I mean, I don't really honestly care if a player is cheating their rolls
I
because
do.
I
It's
mean,
cheating.
you're just taking the fun out of the game. I can roll with it. If your character rolls nothing but 20s, I can roll with it. I can play. You're going to be successful at everything, and you're not going to have any fun because you may feel great rolling those 20s and pretending that you're stuff, but at the end of the day, I still have disintegrate, and you don't have to roll to get hit by it. You know,
Yeah,
you'll
I mean,
just die.
to be completely fair, at the end of the day, I have a DM screen.
hmm
I can roll whatever I want.
If you cheat in D&D as a player, you're only taking fun away from yourself. That's just the short of it.
I mean,
There's no reason to ever.
people who cheat at Dungeons and Dragons or LARP or any game in general, it's not taking the fun away from them. It just isn't. The people who we contend with on Overwatch all the time that are cheating, it's not taking the fun from them. They just enjoy winning. They don't care
Mm,
how they win, they just want the victory.
when they're 30 and they're still failing at life because all they did is cheat their way through video games and school and shit, then they'll be sorry. Karma gets you eventually, and she's a mean bitch. She's from the rough side of town,
Yep.
and
She's from
she
the
has
other
a
side of the tracks.
she has a dagger in her pocket. She'll get you.
She's got dirty dice.
Her dice go up to 30, and they start at 18.
Yep. She never washed them, ever. Just rolled them around in the mud, left them like that. They're all caked. The numbers are brown.
I mean, maybe at one point in time when dice had to have like the numbers drawn on them, you could wash them. So like, you could put numbers on, more sixes, less
Yeah.
ones. But no one washes their dice. That's just a weird thing.
Yes, you don't wash them. They go in a bag and they come
They
out
go
when it's time.
Yeah.
mine go in
Mine
a box. They're bad
mine
dice.
mine live in a Crown Royal bag.
I used to do that. I used to have a Crown Royal bag for the longest time, but now they're a bigger bag than Crown Royal, but just as svelte.
Actually, no, I don't think mine's a Crown Royal anymore now I think about it. That's how often I even look. I just pull out the bag and dump it out. Don't even pay attention to the bag anymore.
I got the Crown Royal apple bag now.
Oh, living
Ooh, I
large.
thought you said they go in a box.
No, that's his minis that go in a box. Well, he has his really nice dice. The ones he paid like $30 for the set or whatever for.
Mm.
My official DM dice when I'm officially in DM mode. Um, I've had to change my philosophy a little bit because
Your
I
wife
wasn't
won't let
buying
you.
I wasn't buying many dice, and I felt like I needed to buy more dice. So my philosophy of I buy dice per character that I play. Um, and this character is very personal to me. I believe dice all roll differently, so those dice sync up with that character and their rolls. Okay. And I kind of took that same logic for DMing recently. So like when I started Keys from the Golden Vault, I went to my local gaming store and I bought these really kind of like bronzish key vault looking dice that matched the cover to the book perfectly. And I basically used those dice for running Keys to the Golden Vault. And I have more online play because I do a lot of online play. D&D Beyond has different dice that you can use to uh, enhance your game. Like there's a treasure chest dice, and when you roll a 20, it becomes a treasure chest. But if you roll a 1, it becomes a mimic.
Huh.
So they got cute animated dice. So like they had like the star dice for the Spelljammer set that released. So if I ran a Spelljammer game, I would use those dice for that.
Yeah, I was gonna say, hey,
Um,
are you the guy who buys all of the dice for each of the campaigns they release?
Oh,
Like the
I
yeah.
don't I don't have to because when I pre-order, I get them for free.
Oh, okay. So you do. You just
so he's also the guy at a concert who wears the shirt of the band he's going to go see.
probably yeah. Yeah.
That is my wife, and yes, she does. And how
Ah,
dare you?
it's such a faux pas. Don't do that.
She does it all the time.
Yeah, you don't wear the
What's
name. You don't wear the shirt of the band you're there to see.
Why not?
You don't wear the shirt of the band of any band that's at that show.
Why
No,
not?
Bad luck.
What?
It's
it's
bad luck.
bad luck. You also
If
don't
you,
want to be that guy, that guy or that gal. You just
yep. Yeah.
What? Explain to me why, other than just saying
If you
why
want,
it's a faux pas. How is it a faux pas?
I just explained it, it's bad luck. If you do that, if you want a concert to get canceled, that's how you do it. You wear that shirt.
besides, if you're not wearing a shirt, then you'll help your band out by buying a shirt while you're there.
We still
Yep.
buy shirts while we're there.
Yeah, if you buy a shirt and then wear it while you're at the concert, that's okay. That's acceptable.
No, we went and saw Gojira, okay,
Hmm.
and Velum or Velheim or something. I don't know. All
One of
right.
the other many
Yeah.
metal bands. Yep.
She wore the shirt for that band that she wanted to go see, and we were there. We bought a Gojira shirt and the band tour shirt.
Yep. Bad luck. Bad luck, man.
How was that bad luck?
Just saying. Don't
It's
do it.
just the same thing as like the golf gods. You just don't piss them off. Don't piss off the gods of rock.
They're now golf gods? What the hell?
Yes, there's golf gods.
Who am I praying to? Tiger Woods or Jack Nicholson?
No, no, no. Those are just mere mortals.
Yeah. No, you better be praying to Happy Gilmore.
I'm gonna pray to the alligator and hope he bites all your hands off.
Oh, Chubbs.
When I went to the Tenacious D, I wore a Foo Fighters shirt because Dave Grohl was the drummer for Tenacious D at one point. So I was still supporting Tenacious D without wearing their shirt.
That's how you
What?
do it.
If I go to the Marvel movies, I wear a Marvel shirt. If
That's
I'm going
fine.
to go
That's movies.
see Amy Grant,
That's different.
I'm wearing an Amy Grant shirt.
Actually,
Oh.
That's how it goes.
if you went to see Amy Grant, I would hope that you are wearing an Amy Grant shirt.
I did and I did. So shut up. It was a fun concert. My mom took me. Amy
Well,
Grant ate
that's
pudding
good.
on stage.
I'm
And
glad
then
you
my
had
next
fun.
and then my next concert was Pink Floyd.
Did you wear a Pink Floyd shirt?
I didn't know who they were. I was just, hey Chris, you want to go
You
to this
should.
concert? It's Pink Floyd. I was like, oh, okay. And then like it was like Roger something. I was like, who's Roger?
Roger
Like
Waters.
he's Pink Floyd. I'm like,
You should have worn a shirt
he's the
that
Pink
said meat.
Floyd.
Should have worn a shirt that said what, Bruce?
Meat.
Meat.
When I go play D&D, I wear a D&D shirt each time. I just
That's
buy
fine.
it.
And then,
That's fine.
and then Shelly should have wore a shirt that said pudding.
Okay. Well, in the same vein, if you roll a die and it touches another player's dice, do you roll that die again on your next roll?
My dice don't touch players' dice. That's weird.
If it accidentally did, if you rolled
would-
it and it accidentally touched another player's die,
Their die would disappear.
so you would steal their die and throw it in your bag.
I would take their die and throw it into the garbage disposal and turn it on.
Okay. I guess that might get rid of the bad juju on it.
Yes. That's why people don't touch the DM's dice.
Right. Yeah. You're not supposed. Well, even other players. Like if I loan another player a die for a roll, that is acceptable. But if they reach over and take it and then roll it, no, that die is not coming back to my side of the table until it's been cleansed of the bad mojo.
So
Do you guys
wash your
have
die then?
player penalties?
Have what?
Player penalties, like to take a vein from the Knights. If you like really do a big faux pas at the table, they make you walk the hallway of four-siders in bare feet.
No, we don't have anything that harsh. I mean, that's pretty awful. The whole
I mean, it would have to
metaphor.
be a bad thing. I mean, it would have to be a bad thing that deserved the punishment. But I'm just saying, do you have anything?
No, not like that. Definitely nothing like that. Honestly, yeah, I don't really have. I have a really good group of players, so we don't really have faux pas. My players keep their shit to themselves, and they don't
Or
touch
how
my
about
dice.
if they played like they played stupidly? That wasn't like NRP, but just played stupidly. Do you make them wear like the hubcap of shame?
No,
The next,
if they play stupidly, their characters usually just die.
So when
Sometimes jumping behind the line of enemies to kill one enemy and putting the other 12 between you and your party, that's probably a stupid idea.
that just sounds like a normal strategy for my games, man.
It does. It sounds like most of your games that you tell me about.
so they're all wearing the next night. Even if they get a new player, a new character, they have to wear the hubcap of shame to show that this person was dumb.
I love Nights at the Dinner Table so much for things like that.
Yeah, I
Right
look
here
forward to
in
reading
Muncie,
them.
Indiana.
Yep.
I mean, so like, I don't punish players for being dumb. They just die. You know, I mean, I can't control that. It's on them.
Yeah, you don't have to punish the characters if they or the players if they do something dumb,
And the
because
thing is, like,
the game can easily punish them.
my players last session in Adventures League, they actually did it smart. They were actually playing well. They were sneaking through. They listened to the mission from the Golden Vault, and they were doing what they needed to do. It just the last fight was an Efreet, a Beholder, and a Mimic that on steroids. It was just hard, and
That's a tough fight, and
that's a tough fight. There's
beholders
10
can be
players
very
there.
hard. Yeah, 10 players is a lot though.
I was rolling in front of them, just disintegrate beam after disintegrate beam,
Yeah, yeah. I
and
mean,
I
even
wasn't
yeah,
rolling it consistently. Like I was doing it per the rules. I wasn't rolling. I was re-rolling the I beams,
yep.
but just enough of those came out that I lost 2 players in the disintegrations. Um, I really don't like when DMs choose the I beams. I mean, when you're down to like 2 or 3 left, okay, you know, it does reset when when the beholder's turn comes up, so you get that at least.
Yeah,
But I don't know. It's just you
yeah.
don't
In
have to
general,
disintegrate them. The beholder will do that eventually. You don't need to help it.
yeah. In general, I prefer to just roll it at random. I do a lot of things at random.
Uh, Going back to the video game here, I was in a building when I was playing this weekend, and they had all these like medieval
Okay, bye.
tapestries. So they're
Back to the video game.
hold on. So you know those old medieval paintings of like knights killing the dragons and stuff like that?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, like you've been to a museum, you've seen pictures. So like they had a couple of those with like a knight killing like a dragon, and it has like that weird like, is that a dragon or just a large lizard or maybe a hairy dog? You really can't tell. But they had a couple that were uh peasants fighting back beholders, and these beholders are drawn in like that old English tapestry, but they were just like maybe an apple, maybe just with a lot of stems, or maybe an orange. That's a cat. That's 100% a cat, not a beholder, but it
Yeah.
has lots of eyes. It was very cute. I need to find those pictures and use them in my game. I think that'd be great. I need you to kill this, sir. That's a cat with 7 eyes. Nah, it be a beholder.
Yeah, and it's probably one of those old ass paintings that gave us the displacer beast. Like somebody saw some painting of a dragon that had like tentacles or something coming off, but it kind of looked like a cat at the same time.
What was it? Elephant skulls, or what they believe Cyclops lore came from?
Probably, yeah.
Because if you ever look at an elephant skull, it looks like
It's got
a
that
human
one
skull with
giant, yeah.
one giant hole. Well, yeah.
You guys
Watermelons. Go ahead.
have you guys run across in Baldur's Gate this Barrowmancer?
Barrelmancer.
B
No,
A
that was
R
So
R E L.
yeah, so someone's like making because you can carry if your character can pick something up, you can put it into your inventory.
Yeah.
And so they get the barrels that explode.
Oh yeah. I've
They
seen the
fill their
video.
entire. They just all they do is go around filling themselves with barrels, and then they sneak around and they put them down the whole level and get to a high point and then ignite them and blow up the whole level.
Yeah,
So that was a strategy from the studio's previous game called Divinity's Original Sin, where you could basically carry all the barrels with you if you had a high strength, and then you could even do something better. You could telekinetically throw the barrels, and it would hit the enemies for a ton of damage and then explode or spill oil everywhere. So there are in Baldur's Gate 3, there is a lot of people that are carrying lots of explosive barrels around and setting them down and doing what you
I
said.
am. In our
Jay's been doing that.
I haven't done it much, but I've been collecting the powder barrels. I've got probably a dozen or so of them in our multiplayer game that are going to find their way up Waple's shorts at some point.
The attack that they became famous from this game is owlbear from the top rope.
I did that the other day, by the way.
Where you take an owlbear, okay, and you enlarge it, and then you have the owlbear leap from a high place onto another monster. And the way the game calculates the pounce attack mechanic multiplies it by the owlbear's weight and distance. So people are getting in the thousands of damage in a D&D 5e scale. So they're just obliterating Tiamat immediately with this owlbear from the sky.
Yeah, it's the Randy Savage move. No, I did that the other day in Baldur's Gate 3, but I didn't have enough height to do a lot of extra damage, unfortunately. So
yeah, I picked up Jay when he was transformed into a badger, and I beat a goblin to death with him. That's what I've done so far.
It's so
you let
good.
him do that?
Oh, I told him to do it.
It's use me, make me your weapon.
I'm like, you can't hurt me. I'm a druid. Worst thing that happens is I just go back to my normal form. And it was so good. So, which we're playing. We're streaming it every Tuesday and Thursday. Make sure to check us out on Twitch.
Woo!
#plug. Also, yeah, beholders, they have 10 eye stalks. Just roll them at random, goddammit.
I did.
I know. I'm sitting here staring at them. They got all
unless
sorts of
unless the beholder had an enormously large intelligence.
No, just roll them at random.
The only beholder I think that's popular enough where I would possibly do that would be Xanathar. And that's because Xanathar has the in-game, in-play mechanic of if you touch his goldfish, you're getting disintegrated. So that's probably the only time that I would do that. If you sneak into Xanathar's lair and you're in front of him and you touch his goldfish and you're not that stupid dwarf that takes care of the goldfish, then by God, you are being disintegrated, maybe paralyzed and disintegrated if I need to.
Yeah.
Definitely death raid.
If it's a beholder NPC that you've built some time in your game with and actually utilized and everybody knows who it is, okay, that's a little different. But if it's just a random ass beholder that doesn't really have a name, it doesn't have a name tag or anything on it, you roll it at random.
Roll it at random.
Just roll a D10, take what you get. No duplications.
Be a good podcast name. Roll it at random.
Roll it at random. Shit, that's what we should have named this one. That's most of our conversations.
Well, you got the podcast name episode.
Oh
so
no,
Bruce,
I already got that. It's called Lady Luck Has Dirty Dice.
The Dark Mistress has dirty dice. So Bruce, do you have any parting wisdom for us?
Let's see. Don't clean your dice.
Okay. Don't clean dice.
Yep.
Don't touch Waple's dice with your dice, even if you're just standing still, because you'll lose it.
I'm writing these. I'm taking these notes. Very important.
Yeah, don't test me on that because I will ruin my garbage disposal with your metal ass $1,000 GM Sapphire dice.
Plus, if you lose that D10 from that set, good luck replacing it.
Don't wear the T-shirt to the concert of the band you're gonna go see.
Yep.
Don't piss me off enough, or I will enact the hallway walk of D4s on you, with you wearing just socks, or I might even give you socks barefoot.
Wait, my barefoot?
Can you blindfold them in the process?
No. So the punishee has to walk the hallway full of D4s and barefoot.
So I can wear my bare feet.
Yes, your hobbit feet is what you're trying to get at. That you have, sure,
Yeah.
you can wear them.
No, I have bare feet that I wear.
He probably has sandals that look like a bear's foot.
Okay. Well, then you got to do it on your hands.
Well, they come with gloves.
Okay, realize if he gets down, he's not getting back up.
I thought you could do a handstand down there.
Next time I fall, I'm down for good. I'm never getting back up.
He brings prone to a new new state.
We're just gonna bring his laptop and his dice down there with him. That's all he needs.
Dragonheart 6 is going to be written by Waples and Chat Beep GBT.
It already has been.
And somehow it will be better than Dragonheart 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Put together times 6.
And then if you really want a horrible time, go watch Mythica.
Oh, God. Yeah, if everybody wants to see Matt Mercer act.
What's Mythica?
It's Dragonheart 1 through 5. That's what it is.
It's just worse. But have fun. I mean, it's got Hercules in it.
Okay, that's right, Kevin Sorbo. Hey, I like the old Hercules TV show. It was terrible and entertaining. Yep.
Those are fine, but Mythica's not that. It's not even Andromeda, and that was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Hercules television show, I don't like that much. I love Xena, but Xena lost me when her chakra thing that she had could split in two and kill all the Greek gods. I was like,
so towards the end, I guess. Okay, she lost me when she left Greece. When they started going to the Far East, to the Vikings, like she was.
She's the warrior princess. She's got to go around and get new territory, man.
Egypt. She went to Egypt for a while. They even did a modern day episode where, well, not modern. It's like the 30s or something like that.
I mean, the best scene in Star Trek is Picard with a shotgun, or a Tommy gun. I mean, modern day episodes work.
And then half orc bards with their girlfriends burning up them videos. Let them just do it.
Yep. By the way, Waples is playing Geark in Baldur's Gate.
I am.
Wow. Good job, Geark.
And it is going about as terribly as you would expect. We've already had to kill him once.
You did. Yeah. All right.
All right.
You're good for this week.
Yeah, I think so.
Don't microwave your dice.
Yeah, don't do that. Don't do that. That's a way to ruin a microwave too.
Yes, children, this is advice from the grumpy DM to you. Put your metal mice in the microwave and microwave them.
Put your metal mice in your microwave.
Yep.
On that note, I think we've had enough. I'm out of here. Bye, Craig. Thanks for joining us, Bruce. Always a pleasure.
No problem. Drunk with Buds. Find it on all platforms.
Yeah, check out his podcast, Drunk with Buds. It's a good time too. Bye, Craig.